Welcome to Hatman Strikes Back Daily Boxing News. Is Lennox Lewis to blame for Frazer Clarke's loss to Fabio Wardley? Now, let me just set the scene here. So before the fight, Frazer Clarke did a little bit of training with Lennox Lewis. Not any serious training as far as I'm aware. It might have just been a couple of hours, but because Lennox Lewis was such a great fighter, there's the possibility that Frazer Clarke might have taken certain things that Lewis told him on board and tried to implement them in the Fabio Wardley fight, as short a fight as it was. One thing that Lennox Lewis told him in particular, and the reason I know all this is because there's a video of this up on YouTube on a Sky Sports Boxing channel. And there's a part of the video where Lewis has taken Frazer Clarke on the pads and he's getting Frazer Clarke to throw his jab and then throw a 1-2. Now, typically, Frazer Clarke has a static guard, meaning he just keeps his hands up in a static fashion, doesn't move his hands around when he's waiting to punch. He keeps them high and he keeps them static. And Lennox Lewis told him not to do that. He said that he could tell when Frazer Clarke was going to throw a punch from that position, from that static guard. So he said, if you move your hands around a little bit, it makes it more difficult for your opponent to anticipate when you're going to throw. Now, that's something that obviously worked for Lennox Lewis, but something that works for one fighter isn't necessarily going to work for another. Lennox Lewis was a very athletic heavyweight, very fast reflexes, very twitchy, good mover. Frazer Clarke is not. He's more of a potted plant. He doesn't have Lennox Lewis type reflexes. And so when he went in there against Fabio Wardley, he was noticeably moving his hands around more than usual. And it was during that motion that Fabio Wardley spotted an opening and capitalized with a big right hand. Now, I'm saying all this retrospectively, obviously, because I didn't know whether Frazer Clarke's reflexes would be good enough to take Lennox Lewis's advice on board and still not get caught. But evidently, they were not good enough. Presumably, Lennox Lewis thought that they would be good enough, and he was wrong. As much knowledge as Lennox Lewis has, as great a fighter as he was, it doesn't necessarily mean he'd be a great trainer. Because great fighters, as opposed to great trainers, they tend to try and train someone to fight like they did, to do the things that they did, to pull off the moves that they used to pull off, not realizing that not every fighter is going to be suited to doing those things. In fact, in some cases, when they try the things that used to work for you in your career, it'll end in disaster for them. Now, some of you may remember, after David Price suffered his first professional defeat to Tony Thompson, in the run-up to the immediate rematch with Thompson, Price was training with Lennox Lewis. And of course, that rematch was an absolute disaster. Do these heavyweights need to stop taking Lennox Lewis's advice? That's the question for you guys. Now, if you are a very athletic heavyweight and you're maybe a similar height and build to Lennox Lewis, there's nobody around like that at the moment. But if you were a 6'5", athletic, well-coordinated heavyweight, power in both hands, good jab, mobile, and so on, then Lennox Lewis's advice might serve you a lot better. But these clunky guys, like the David Prices of the world, the Frazer Clarkes of the world, what happened to them after taking Lennox Lewis's advice perhaps should be a cautionary tale for other heavyweights. You guys let me know what you think in the comment section below. Now, I want to clarify something before I end this video. I am not definitively saying that it was Lennox Lewis's advice that got Frazer Clarke caught with that right hand. I'm talking about the first right hand, not the final one. The first right hand that started it all. At the end of the day, only Frazer Clarke would know whether in that moment he was trying to implement what Lennox Lewis taught him or not. As I say, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you like this video, subscribe if you haven't done so already, share the video as well. And before I go, make sure you check out this 3-hour career review I did on Riddick Bowe on my Patreon page. I do commentary on actual video footage of his fights, from his Olympic final against Lennox Lewis in 1988, all the way through his professional career. I'm getting great feedback on that video from my patrons. As I say, it's nearly 3 hours long. And before I go, make sure you check out this nearly 3-hour career review I've done on Riddick Bowe, where I show actual video footage of his fights from the Lennox Lewis Olympic bout in 1988, all the way through his pro career. I talk about his style, the backstory behind a lot of the fights, the context of the time, the way the media saw Riddick Bowe, the way the fans saw him, the way he was portrayed, the ups and downs in his career, the highs and lows, the good performances, the bad. I analyze his style, his different attributes and what have you. As I say, it's nearly 3 hours long. It's getting great feedback, so make sure you check it out. If you want to access this video along with hundreds of hours worth of other exclusive boxing content, as well as our members chat, just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called the Boxing Brotherhood. There's no contract, no commitment. You can cancel at any time, just like Netflix, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. Just download the app from the Play Store or the App Store. All the links are in the description box below.